Laura Peterson, is so good to have you on the podcast. You're somebody I've wanted to get to know for quite some time, and we have just spent a bunch of time yapping and finding out that we have a lot of in common things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of personal in common things, as well as both being podcasters and we don't live in the same place because we were
Not
just
right
talking.
now, but we have in the past, apparently, without even knowing it. In Germany and San Diego. Well, no, I wasn't in San Diego when you were, but I was in Arizona when you were. Crazy.
So crazy. And yeah, so like let's just jump right in. So
Yeah.
speaking of all of these different places that we've lived, where did you grow up? What was your first home?
So I grew up in Orange County, California. Like, oh my God. And, and I loved it. It was a great kind of suburban, lots of families, and there's a lot of things to do, but it wasn't so crazy, crazy fast paced. Like, I couldn't imagine like growing up in New York City, for example. That seems just like totally bonkers. And I went to school in LA for undergrad. I didn't actually even apply to any school outside of California. I don't know. At that time, I just thought about California. But I studied abroad during college in Germany my junior year. And that just completely opened up my eyes to the entire world and realized I wanted to visit every country and see everything. And yeah, so since then, I think I kind of opened my horizons for where I might live.
So crazy. And now today you are all about the laptop lifestyle, right?
Yes, so I definitely say I'm a digital nomad, although my husband and I now have a great home base in San Diego, which is nice because it's about an hour and a half drive to my parents, and my brother and his wife, they just had a baby about a year ago, and my cousin just had a little baby. So it's kind of fun to have a home base and be close to family now that families are expanding. And we just love San Diego in terms of California. It's our favorite place in the state.
Awesome. And your dog has been to how many different countries?
Yeah, my dog, his name is Tuck. And I don't have an Instagram for him because I'm too busy for that. But there is a hashtag that I always use. It's chill as Tuck because he's super chill. Actually, most of the time when we travel with him, people don't even know that we have a dog. Like we'll pull him out 5 hours into an international flight and people are around are like, I didn't know you had a dog in there the whole time. Have you medicated him? And we're like, no. So yeah, we took him with us when we lived in Europe for a year, mostly Germany, but we lived in Europe for a year together a couple of years ago as an adventure. And we had our pup and wanted to bring him too. So he's been to about 7 countries, mostly in Europe and US now.
Nice. And what has, okay, so you were inspired during university and had your experience in Europe. And then from there, like, had you just been moving around quite a bit since, or was there a time where you stayed at home for a while and then
Mm.
decided? Because I see pictures of you on social media in all these different places, and it seems like you're always on the go. So what's the whole travel story with you?
Yeah. So I think the first time I ever had a spark for travel was in high school. My parents did take me to New York City, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And actually, my dad, I'm remembering now, he took me to Chicago because I was obsessed with the Chicago Bulls. I played basketball in high school, and I was just absolutely obsessed. So he took me to a home game in Chicago when I was in high school as well. And those little things just made me think, wow, there's so many cool, unique experiences out there. But after backpacking around Europe, for a ton of time. I had so much time, free time while I was studying abroad in Germany. I was like, okay, let me really rack up the country count here. And when I came back, I had one more year of undergrad in LA. And then I got obsessed with business and entrepreneurship because my dad gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it talked a lot about real estate investing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to learn about this. So I actually graduated a little bit early, got my real estate license, and started working as an assistant. Not very as many people know this story, but I started working as an assistant to an amazing realtor in Irvine, which is in Orange County, for like a long summer or maybe like half a year. But I kind of realized that to really be good at real estate, you needed to stay in one place. And I was like, because you want to like grow your referrals and be known in the community. And I was like, I don't want to live in Orange County my entire life. So I ended up moving to the Bay Area for a year So I was dating a guy. Didn't work out, but I was dating him. So I lived up there for a year. And then after a year, I was like, okay, I'm really obsessed with real estate. I want to be able to buy a house, and California's prices are insane. And so now we're in 2004. And so that's when I moved to Arizona. And so I lived in Arizona for about 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. It was 10 years and met my husband there. And then we decided to move back to San Diego when he got a job offer out here. We were here for a year and then we wanted an adventure and lived abroad. And now we've been back in San Diego for 2 years. But in terms of travel, I couldn't figure out the business thing. And so I just ran back to what I knew. And I was always a nerd. I was always good at tutoring and teaching and helping people. So I got a master's in education and I taught high school math and psychology in Chandler, Arizona. And whenever there was a break, because we had this like modified year-round schedule. So it was amazing. Yeah. We had 2 weeks off in October, December, March, and then our summers were like 6 or 7 weeks. So literally the second the bell rang and the kids were gone, I was on the first flight as far away as I could. So I studied Spanish in Mexico, in Costa Rica. I backpacked to Peru, through Southeast Asia a couple of times, and I learned to scuba dive. Yeah. So I was just like, wow, let's go everywhere.
So crazy. Okay. This is like kind of touching on a potential another connection.
Oh my goodness.
Were you in the public school system?
Yes.
Or you were? Okay. I was an administrator at a charter school
Wow.
in Mesa.
Oh my gosh, that's
I
crazy.
know, right?
Oh,
So
well, you'll love this too. While I was a teacher, I ran an exchange program. So I took students to Germany. And we did it every 2 years. And it was a reciprocal hosting exchange. So the students and teachers would come to Chandler first and they would stay with host families for 2 weeks. And then we would go visit them in June for 2 weeks. And the city that we went to was Regensburg. And that's where my husband and I ended up living a few years later because I had teacher friends out there and had really fallen in love with the city. So there's like another connection to Germany and that you have as well.
totally. And while I was an administrator at the charter school, I also hosted an exchange student from Germany.
Wow, this is crazy. Our lives are very similar.
So crazy. Anyways, wow. Okay. So at what point did you figure out copywriting? Like, where did that
Mm.
come into your life?
So I think I was always trained to write well, just being a nerd in school and taking like all the AP and honors classes. But, well, and I guess the second part I could say is being a teacher, I started to hone my ability to communicate in writing in a very clear, succinct way so that I wouldn't have 100 teenagers asking me the exact same question every time I handed them a worksheet or wrote something on the board. So I think that kind of helped train me to get like really clear in instructions and things. But it wasn't really the third layer really came when I started my first company that actually worked because I tried stuff that didn't. But my first company that actually worked is after I taught for about 5 years, I was just turning 30 and I was like, okay, I really want to be an entrepreneur. And I met a mutual friend who was also wanting to start a tutoring and test prep company. And so we worked on it together. And through that, we realized the power of digital marketing, but we were kind of still new and figuring it out. So we decided, let's write a blog. And so our blog, we realized in retrospect, because we didn't realize it 100% at the time, was really how we kind of kept the business running because we did such great SEO local targeting that we were getting enough leads and clients just because of the content of our blog, bringing people in for like relevant local searches. And so I think just through practicing writing in a business way, I had to unlearn all of my academic rigid training and realize we should actually write like we speak, not write like we're trying to like prove we're super smart with these esoteric 15-page essays on stuff, you know? So I think that was really where I learned how to write more effectively for a business situation, not just to like prove that I had read a book or something.
So cool. And so you have then parlayed, or you've since parlayed that writing into what people pay you for. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So my path is a little bit windy, but my
I
heart
should,
started.
I should say I just love windy paths,
Oh,
by the way.
good.
It's so awesome.
I know. And I'm happy to share it. It's like, I do not have it all figured out. I still don't. So like, it's just enjoy the journey. That's, I feel like, what it's all about. But so my heart started falling out of the tutoring and test prep world. And I started just falling in love with these other entrepreneurs I was meeting. All I wanted to do is hang out with my peers who just loved business too. And I didn't enjoy as much trying to find parents who had teenage kids because I was like right in the middle of the ages, and I just don't believe in like the college system for everyone anymore. So I started saying yes to other side gigs. Some things I did completely for free just for the experience. Some things were paid. So I worked for a company doing social media marketing. They found all the clients. It wasn't my own business, but I would do the delivery of social media and making custom graphics and scheduling it and doing all that stuff. People would pay me for copywriting or ghostwriting blogs and things like that. So that's how I guess became a professional copywriter, if you want to say, is people started paying me to help them with the writing. And then I started my own podcast, which is called Copy That Pops. So basically writing that stands out and jumps off the page and really helps you achieve your goals for business, specifically online. I started that in April of 2016. And by the end of that year, because at the time I was actually doing a podcast production company with a friend of mine. And at the end of that year, we just got back from Germany, actually. And I was going to a bunch of conferences and I felt invisible. And I felt like no one took me seriously. And it wasn't their fault. They didn't know me, but I just kind of was feeling that frustration. Like, I want to go to an event and people want to talk to me. Like, I want to go to an event where I'm a speaker and people want to take a selfie with me, like I don't want to be uber famous, but I want to be known in my niche. And I was like, no one knows me. And this is frustrating. And so within a week, 3 people said to me, why don't you write a book? You write a book and you'll really stand out. You can stand out from the crowd, and it's way easier than it ever was before to self-publish it. You can even hit bestseller online with Amazon. I was like, really? So I decided to just jump in. I was crazy, and I did it in 30 days. So I went from no idea to #1 bestseller in the podcast and webcast category in 30 days. And my book is 364 pages, by the way. So it's not super teeny. I know, I'm crazy. And that completely changed my path because I shared my journey the entire time, and people started reaching out like, oh, let me interview you. Oh, you can come speak at this. I'd love you to share your journey or whatever. And in 2017 and 18, that's what I realized people wanted help with was books. So how to write, how to self-publish and hit bestseller, and then how to use a book to leverage it and get more podcast interviews and speaking on stage and media attention, all these great things. So now that's what I'm all in on with this windy path to books.
Amazing. So what are you today then? How are you serving and supporting people? Like, how are people coming into your sphere? Obviously, they're hearing you on stage, on podcast, by SEO, all of the things, social media, and what's their like next step? So for example, if my listeners are like, ooh, this is good, take us through the funnel, if you would.
Sure. So I have a free Facebook group, which I really love to promote because sometimes people are like, I'm just meeting you. I'm not like ready to throw money at you. So if people go to copythatpops.com/Facebook, it'll redirect you over to that group. And that is just people like you who are entrepreneurs. They're focused on, okay, I want to write a nonfiction book, something that's going to show off my expertise, prove that I know my stuff, and be an incredible tool. The book is an incredible tool to help you grow everything else in your business. Something I didn't expect. It also helps you internally. Like you raise your confidence and your clarity, and you're like, dang, I really do know my stuff. So it'll help you start charging more and all the good things. So I'd say that's a great place to start is copythatpops.com/Facebook. Also on my main homepage, copythatpops.com, I've got a bunch of freebies and things. But once people are ready, if they want a bit more personalized help and want to go faster, then my core offer is I've got a self-paced course for each of the different levels. One is writing a great book that's going to pop and get your cover design, edited format, all that stuff. The next level 2 is about self-publishing a bestseller, exactly how to hit bestseller. And then 3 is about leveraging your book for more. And those are not just self-paced courses. They are. The material is all there, checklists, cheat sheets, video tutorials to make everything goes fast. Because I'm a teacher, so I know how to like break it all down. But I also have a private community that supports people going through those programs too, so that you are never getting stuck. You're going through it with people who are on the same pacing as you. Everyone encourages and supports each other when people go live. So everyone's buying each other's books and sharing it and helping promote each other. And we also do live calls that I lead and answer questions, screen share, and just like help you with anything you may ever come across.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then what if people want more support? Do you have also other
Right.
levels in ways that you support people?
So, yes, I've kind of been scaling that back. So, I was doing it a lot in 2017 and 18, which is amazing and incredible. But I just found that it took up so much time that I couldn't really focus on growing the group as much. And I want to help more people rather than fewer, really in depth. Also, my husband and I have been trying to get pregnant. So, I'm trying to also create space for that when that comes together. So, I won't say 100% no, but I'm being a lot more selective and the prices are way, way higher. So someone have to be really super motivated to be like, okay, let's go for it together.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. And I love how you've just really shown us how you went from completely not even in this
Mhm.
digital space in a relatively short period of time to really becoming known, respected, revered, and
Oh,
a
thank you.
leader in in it, right? And it's been so intentional and yeah, like a lady after my own heart, just twists and turns and taking all of the life experience and enjoying the journey. I think
Mm,
this is something a lot of people don't really understand how to do. And they get set in a mind, like they get stuck in a mindset of accomplishments
yeah,
over journey. Is that
right.
something you were ever plagued with, or was it
For
always just very
sure.
natural for you to go with the flow?
I would say for sure. And I mean, it's still an ongoing process. I feel like too, I'm an overachiever. I'm a type A. I was a nerd in school. So I'm like used to being like, let me get the highest grade in class and show everyone I got it. So for me, business was way harder than school. And I'm still like trying to figure it all out 100%. And for me, honestly, I am not amazing at sales and marketing. That's what I'm focusing on getting better at. But I'm a creator, I'm a teacher, I it's like I'm more of like an artist than a business person. I don't really do art per se, but like my art is like creating tutorials and like worksheets and stuff. But then I'm like, okay, just go buy it, everyone. But it's like, where is everyone? Like I'm not driving people to it as well as I could. So that's where my journey is to get better. But I think to kind of address what you're saying too is I've really tried to remind myself that the only measure of success in business is not monetary. That's not the only indicator. And sometimes I think we forget that there's always like how to make 7 figures in 7 days and drive my Lamborghini. Like, okay, I don't subscribe to that. I hate that stuff. But that kind of makes it feel like the only measurement of success is how much money you're bringing in, and I just don't believe that. There's so many other things like what connections are you making? What value are you giving? What thank you letters are you getting from people privately? And you're seeing that you make an impact. What personal growth are you going through that alone is worth the entire thing? So I think focusing on all the other elements rather than just money definitely helps me keep it in perspective.
So good. Oh, I wish we would have had this conversation like months ago, but I appreciate that you have actually been waiting because my calendar's been a little bit crazy. Um,
No
we're
worries, mine
recording
too.
this actually on the last day of January, and I like pretty much all of 2019 I've already booked. So and recorded
Nice.
nearly half. Yeah. So yeah, so I really appreciate how, how flexible you are and how long you've been waiting for this. It's so amazing to connect with other like-minded people. And as you mentioned connection, I know that for me, that has been the, I believe, key indicator of my
Mm.
growth and success in business, having come out of being a correctional officer,
Oh, wow.
lots of twists and turns as well, right? Corporate
Yeah.
training, and I was teaching English as well before I started doing
Mhm.
that, and I did insurance, and I worked in professional sports marketing, and all of the things. So, it's for me, there were times actually when I was quite young with my first successful business, which was corporate training. Um, I realized that, so I'm a high school dropout as well, not an
Oh,
academic. And
oh,
so what I realized was people don't ask for the boss's resume. And
oh,
that
that's
was
true.
a big reason of why I decided to go out on my own and start my own firm. So I didn't have to convince anybody that I was worth hiring. I did wind up in Arizona going back and getting my degree, but it was in holistic healthcare. So
Yeah.
again, I was a massage therapist, like all kinds of crazy stuff, enjoying the journey. And and that's been for me, in the past, not at this point in my life, but in the past, all of that journey, it was not looked at as positive, right? It
Mm.
was looked at as you're unreliable, or
Mhm.
you don't, there's some reason.
You're
And
lost and
yeah,
yeah.
and it wasn't that at all. I mean, there
Yeah.
were reasons, but it's more of I wanted to enjoy the journey. That's
Yeah.
been my life. And so coming from corrections, not knowing a first thing about online anything, not having any presence, I just figured out who were the best people that I wanted to know, and who were the best people that I wanted to become friends with and learn from and highlight and spread the good news about. And from doing that has built me an amazing Rolodex of
Mhm.
people who I love and admire, and it's like we're friends now. And if you would have told
Yeah.
me 3 years ago, or when I was just new in the space, and I knew of all these big name people, I never thought I'd be actually like hanging out with them.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's life now. And so
Mhm.
for me, that was, I'd say, the the biggest mover in my success. And it sounds like it's similar for you. Is that the case, or is there something else you would attribute to, really a key piece of, well, you mentioned the book, obviously, so that was
Yeah.
for getting known, but I see you hanging out with all of the peoples too, and again, speaking on those stages. Do you think that relationship building has been something that has helped you more quickly move forward?
I think so. And I really I feel like I also haven't called in favors that I could yet. So let's see what happens in the next couple of years when I'm like ready to and it feels right. Because I think that we have some more potential to really leverage the work I've put in. And it is funny though what you're saying, because even most of my speaking that I've done so far, and I actually was terrified of public speaking. I didn't really even start focusing on it till last year in 2018. So if anyone's terrified of public speaking, take it from me, you can actually get over it and love it. I would have sworn you were lying if you told me that before. Uh, but just speaking gigs alone, some people have asked me, "Oh, well, how did you get to speak at Podcast Movement? How are you speaking at Podfest? How are you speaking in Australia? We are at these different things." And I'm like, if I really trace it back, it's years. It's years of relationship building, years of trying to add value, years of showing up and giving without any expectation in return. And of course, oftentimes you also still have to apply and like go through the channels. But if you've got the relationship, like it's kind of like you've got that advantage, like the people who are in power are going to be like, yeah, let that one go through. So I think relationships and connections are incredibly powerful, but I would just definitely encourage people to not keep track so much like tit for tat and be stressed out of like, oh, well, I've done all these things for that person and they haven't returned the favor yet. Like, oh, forget them. Because I think that everyone's life ebbs and flows, and just kind of keep giving and stick around people that do have a good intention, and it will just all work out in the end.
So good. So with that, on that note, I wish we could go longer, but it is at the end. So we'd already talked about your funnel, but once again, can you let my listeners know
Yeah.
how to keep in touch with you, and also any final words of wisdom you want to share?
Sure. So yeah, go to copythatpops.com is the hub /Facebook if you want to join the group. On social media, I'm Laptop Laura because Laura Peterson was taken, and I love alliteration, and I literally have my laptop wherever I am. I take it to doctor's appointments. I mean, it's everywhere because I'm like always working on my laptop. So it just seemed very fitting. And I guess a parting words of wisdom. I mean, we definitely really touched on enjoy the journey. My one word, I read that book, Your One Word by Evan Carmichael, I think it is. And I came out with connection. That's the one theme for my entire life, is all about connection. So we touched on that. I think one saying that I love, that I think also exemplifies a bit of what we've been talking about, but says it in another way, is you are the average of the people that you spend a lot of time with. And I've been very conscious of that, especially since my late 20s, and now I'm 37 as I record this, to be very selective about who I let stay in my life and let their voice stay in my ear, family and friends included. And that doesn't mean like I just am mean and kick them out completely, but I distance myself and just reduce the frequency. I hang out with, my husband is not an entrepreneur, and we have some friends like in the neighborhood that aren't. But other than that, I am constantly talking to entrepreneurs, and I cannot tell you how beneficial that is to my doing better in business, because I'm always bouncing ideas. I'm always keeping things fresh. We're always collaborating and thinking of new ideas. And so if you feel like, take a little audit of the people you talk with all the time. If you're trying to grow in business and you look around and all of your friends and family are in 9 to 5s, even if they love it, great for them. I'm not saying it's bad, but start to include more people in your circle, in your frequency, that are entrepreneurs, and people who are at the same level or a couple steps ahead even is amazing, because it's going to rub off on you more than you know. Psychologically, we humans are such social creatures. So really set yourself up for success by surrounding yourself by the people that you want their perspective and thoughts and ideas to bounce off and influence you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Anytime.